good, everybody? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another collaboration here on the YouTube channel, guys. And I do appreciate you guys for being here. Happy holidays, everybody. But today I have a very, very special YouTuber. She is from, Kim, give me like some of the United Kingdom, music in the background, She's all the way from the UK. I want her to, tell who she is and what her channel is about.
Hey guys, I am Keisha Ariel. I am usually a natural hair content creator, but I'm pivoting from that into this space where we speak about relationships. So yeah, I am here in the YouTube streets, kind of relearning the ropes. So yeah, I'm all about trying to help the community, our community, get better by adding some of my thoughts and opinions to the conversation that we're all talking about. So yeah.
All right. Okay, so we have the UK national anthem playing. Let's give her a round of applause. All right, for being here. And I saw one of your comments, and I didn't know that. So I was like, something told me click on this particular page. So I clicked on it. You had like 40,000 subscribers. I was really shocked, and I can definitely check from your accent that you were from the United Kingdom. And shout out to the brothers and sisters from the United Kingdom. I work with many people from there in the Black YouTube world. Especially shout out to my folks out in Black London. Okay, I'll be there. I'll be there soon. Okay, but I noticed that you were doing the natural hair thing, and then all of a sudden, I've seen you make a switch to some of this entitlement. I know you're a married lady. If you've been married for a while, right? You love being married. You talk about it on your Instagram all the time. What's the problem right now? And I know you know Kevin Samuels, and it seems that you're a woman that is in agreement that there's a lot of entitlement. Let's talk about the Black experience in the UK and what you're seeing right there, and how does it relate to what's going on in Black America from what you're seeing from some of the content creators in our side?
Right, and that's definitely, because what is happening in the United States, it's literally the same thing that's happening here in the UK. Now, I know a lot of people, when they think about the UK, they're like, oh yeah, the accent, oh, the ladies are different. Yeah, we may be different in certain, like the cultural stuff and how women carry themselves to a certain degree. There is a difference, but at the core, it is still the same. So a lot of what Kevin Samuels speaks on, even though he speaks more to the American audience, it definitely applies here as well, because you'll find a lot of UK men that resonate with what he says and, champion what he says and feel supported by what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? So it's still pretty much the same thing, even though you might think it's across the pond. The women may not be as outwardly aggressive, if you may, but when you really get to speaking with them, you're going to realize the mentality is almost pretty much the same, if that makes sense.
Let me say this is very interesting, because I believe I'm an African American. You're married to an African American, which is interesting in itself. But I do know that the UK, the demographics are a little different than where we're at, because in America there are people from, let's say, Jamaica, which is where you're originally Jamaican, a lot of Caribbeans, a lot of Africans, just like in America, but the majority of us are the same group as the African Americans that came from the slave trade. But in the UK, what also makes it convoluted is there's the Jamaicans, there's Trinidadians, there's Ghanaians, Nigerians, and all these different people that are conglomerated as to one Black community, which is not like our community, which is pretty much the same. In the UK, there are different communities that are all kind of clumped together. Now, how does that affect dating in the Black in the Black UK in comparisons to maybe what happens in the community where we have a little bit more homogeneous situation where we're at?
So if I understand what you're saying, like, because everybody interacts together, you're asking how if they date with like kind of inter-Black relations.
Is there any problems, because with us, we have those problems, but we're pretty much the same people. But whereas in the UK, it might be a little bit different. There might be some problems that might also stop in the dating world there because of what's going on as
Uh,
far as the mixture?
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think in terms, because it's funny for me to kind of answer that because I didn't really date like that, if you see what I'm saying.
Right.
I didn't like just go out there dating. So to say what the dating environment is, one thing I can definitely say, and even like my husband, Minnie was having this conversation like many times before, you'll see a lot more, even though you'll see Black people dating Black people, you'll find a lot of interracial relationships. Because my husband said when he came here, it was the first time he saw that many type of interracial relationships, also Black and white. I don't know if that's the kind of like the question that you were asking, but pretty much you will see Blacks usually stay with. Then again, I can't really say that because I do see interracial as well.
Right.
But with the group of people that I hang with, I more see Blacks with Black.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I hope I answered the question right.
Yeah, you kind of answered it a little bit because I do understand that. I know that you're not in London, but I know that was an issue there in the city because you had so many different Blacks from different places, where in America it's not the case. But let's talk about the interracial dating issue because that seems to be also an issue in Black America. A lot of Black men are saying, Black women are just too entitled. They require too many things. Like you need to be a certain height, you need to make a certain amount of money, and this is why. So is that the same case? What's going on in the UK from what you're seeing?
It's like I said, it's pretty much the same thing. I think women across the board, Black women in particular, they kind of have this same type of mentality. So yes, they want that tall guy, they want that guy making money. And like I said, I'm a person that keep to myself. So I don't really get to, caught up in what's going on with people. But when I watch on YouTube and watch other content creators from the UK that's single out here trying to date, they're saying these type of things. Oh, he needs to be able to be doing this for me and he needs to take me out and all of these things. And I'm like, but girl, like, really? What are you doing? Like, there's this one particular content creator, I'm not going to put them out there, but I'm like, okay, you want this guy and she wants to date a white guy as well. She made that very clear. And he also, for her, have to be tall, have to be making money. But then I'm looking at her and I'm like, oh, babe, you can lose a bit of weight still. Like, you kind of need to go to the gym. And this person will say that they're very active, but then they'll be eating a lot of food. And I'm like, you be eating all this time and then saying that you're active, it's not really lining up because what you're burning off, you're putting right back in. Like, you need to kind of work that out. So even if in the UK, whether they're dating Black men or white men, they still want the same thing. Well, this particular content creator I'm speaking about, but in general, women want men, the women here, they look at those things. I never really, that was never my mindset, really. So those things, when I hear these things, because honestly, when I came across Kevin Samuel's content and I heard some of the things that these women are talking about, I was literally like, are you girls for real? Like, is it that serious? Like, when I heard 40,000, the average earning that men have, I'm like, that sounds like a lot of money to me. I mean, it may not be like I don't know, because I don't know what the living expenses are and stuff like that there. But I'm like, you must can, do something with that. Because then again, I'm a budget person. I will budget out everything. So maybe that's why to me, it's like, oh, that's not too bad. As long as you know how to budget and you're not like overspending and all of that. But yeah, but it's pretty much the same thing here. They look for the same things.
So when you were looking for a man, you were not looking at, okay, he needs to be yay tall and all. No. What were you looking for?
To be honest, I am short-ish. I'm like 5'3". So obviously I would appreciate a guy that is taller than me. That's something, but I wasn't like, oh, he has to be 6 feet. Like, no. why does he have to be 6 feet? No, I wasn't necessarily looking for that. But yeah, as long as he was a bit taller than me, I'm okay with that. He doesn't have to be 6 feet. But my main thing was spirituality.
Okay.
Like, I feel like if we can have that in common,
Okay.
like, that was the top thing for me. And obviously he must be able to bring something like finances to the table as well, because nobody wants to be with someone who ain't got no money.
Right.
Women are gonna, when I say money, I'm not talking about, oh, he needs to be rich. Basically, you have a job. You need to be working. So when I met my husband ticked those boxes, all the other boxes that I had, right? And spirituality was up there again. I met my husband through, church. And then we began our journey that way. So
similar interests. Okay.
Very similar interests.
Let me ask you this about the Kevin Samuels effect, because my mom, she calls me and tells me that, you're talking about Kevin Samuels on the radio in Sacramento, and I was in Uganda.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people know about him in Africa. People hate him on TikTok, or either they love him. But what about the UK? What are people saying about Kevin Samuels in the UK?
Oh no, the men are like, they love Kevin Samuels out here. The men, let's just say that. Let's be clear, the men. Okay. Most men. Then you have the few women like myself who definitely enjoy his content and say, yep, I agree with what he's speaking. But yeah, he is very well received by the men here, and it's interesting because the other day, my neighbor's husband, we're chilling and whatever. Well, not we were chilling, but he came over, said hi, everything, and I'll leave the room because when men are talking, I don't need to be there. And so me and my husband were talking after, and then he mentioned that, he spoke about Kevin Samuels. I was like, what? He know about Kevin Samuels too? So, they have their Kevin Samuels conversation too. So yeah, Kevin Samuels is well received here by the men, and they are very much aware of him.
Now, this is black men, or is this also black white men? Yeah. Black men. Okay. Let's talk about. You don't know.
I literally, like, I stay within my community. I like to, no shade to no other community, but I like to keep it nice and close and tight knit with my community. Right. So I don't really have many friends outside of my community.
I see. Let's talk about the women, right? What, like, the black women in the UK, because I think Kevin definitely would like to at some point, I'm pretty sure, check out the UK and come there and visit. Well, how do the women feel about his content there, the black women?
They feel the same way how the American women feel about his content. They don't like it. They really don't. Like you mentioned at the beginning, women, I am realizing that women do not like to be held accountable. There's a very few of us that can look in the mirror and be like, you know what? Yes, these things are true about myself. I can identify that this applies to me and I need to make changes. People don't like when you tell them about themselves. And you could tell them in the nicest way, or you could tell them in the most passionate way, and they still would just find an issue with it. They just don't like to be held accountable or being told what they're doing is wrong. So yeah, the women, the same way how he is received by the women in the US is the same way how he's received here in the UK.
Okay. So let me cut you off real quick, because we talked about the high interracial dating, obviously in the UK, because there's maybe 1 to 2 million, I think, people of African descent are blacks that's in the country, maybe a little bit more. So obviously there's not a huge black community in the UK as like it is in, let's say, maybe like France, or let's say like maybe in, it's big for Europe, but it's kind of
interesting because but then again, maybe because I live in a black community, so I see a lot more black people. So I'm not sure how. Yeah.
Okay, how it is everywhere else. Okay, so fair enough. But you do see, and your husband, even, he's from a black city. He noticed that it was a lot of interracial dating. Is it more with the men or the women?
No, you more see black men. with
Okay.
a white woman. You will see
Okay.
the occasional black woman with a white man here and
Mm-hmm.
there, but you will more see it the other way around. Black men
Okay.
with white women.
So it's a little. So it is easier for you to see, or more common rather, black men
Yeah.
with white women
Yeah.
than vice versa. Okay, Kim, give me a dun 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 sound effect. So we want to talk about that real quick, all right? We gotta talk about that because a lot of sisters want to do their swirling things, and and we're talking about the problems that black women are having, in the U.S. and the U.K. You're seeing the same thing. A lot of black men have the options to deal with white women, and then a lot of black women have a harder time dealing with white men. But when you talk to black men, I don't know if you do or if you hear people talk about it, the black men who are dating out, what are they saying that these are the reasons why they're doing it?
Like he says, I don't really talk to men about those type of things.
Well, I mean, what have you heard? What have you heard?
Oh, generally, like
yeah, generally.
Generally, you hear that white women are more submissive. You hear that a lot, and they're not so quick to want to argue. That's what you hear a lot about why men date out. And it's interesting because my thing is this: if women are complaining that, oh, men are dating out because they say white women are this, well, if you really want a black man, why don't you start carrying yourself a certain way to see, or be more submissive, be less argumentative, and see how that works out for you? It might work out well. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't complain about what they're doing and don't think to say, let me try it and see if it works. And then I don't understand the idea that women that think if you submit to a man, that makes you this weak, push over, walk over. I'm like, wait, what? And, I said this in one of my videos as well. I'm like, it's interesting because women want men to submit to them in their own ways. And the way how they request a man to submit to them is by saying, I don't want you doing this. I don't want you like cheating. I don't want you, that's why I do this, cheating. But I don't want you, or I want you to buy me things. I want you to do all of these things for me, to make me feel good about myself. That's a form of you requesting him to give himself to you, pour all into you. But why, when he requests you pour all into him and stop being so argumentative and do certain things that I would like, you have a problem with it? You want him to do things for you that you like, but when he asks you to do things that he like, you have a problem. And it's like, I don't want to do that. That's kind of like submitting to his needs. Does that make sense?
Oh no, perfect sense. I've never heard it said that way.
Right. It's, I'm submitting to your needs by giving you what you want. Why can't you give me what I want so we can be happy? But women nowadays, they just want, me. It's just me. What can he do for me? And it's like, but what can I do for him? Because even in my marriage, there's been times like I've had to sit down and I'm like, okay, Keisha, you want your husband to do all of this. What are you doing for him? You want to make sure he feels good too. You want to make him feel like, yes, and I don't see nothing wrong with that. Like, if I want you to do this for me, I supposed to can do this for you too. Because I chose you, you chose me. Let's make this work,
Right. And that's what I think that Kevin Samuels has pointed out, that there is a certain level of one-sidedness, if you will.
Yes.
And
I agree.
I want to also talk about this. I know we're in a different time zone now, and I mean, as far as the time period, 30, 40, 50 years ago, even black families in the UK, very conservative, just like in America. A lot of young women were taught to be like wives, taught to be, go to church and those same things we were being taught. I know America, we've been dealing with a lot of, single parent homes in the American society. I don't know if it's as high in the black United Kingdom community. Is it?
No, you do see it a lot. It's definitely, you see it a lot. It definitely is a problem, especially like within our community. You definitely don't see it in the Asian, i.e., because I know when we say Asian here in the UK, it's different how you guys, because you guys, when you say Asian, you say Chinese, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we say Asians here, we're talking like
Indians.
Indians,
Yeah, Pakistani.
Pakistanis, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
In that community, oh, definitely, you do not see single parenthood. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's definitely nothing that you see
Yes,
like
uncommon.
often. You always see husband and wife, right? In the white community, you'll see more. It definitely does happen that you have single parenthood, but you don't see. Basically, you see more husband and wives or man and woman together in that community.
Mm-hmm.
In the black community, you will see it sparingly.
Mm-hmm.
Sparingly,
Mm-hmm.
it's not very,
Okay.
But then if you see the African families, like if you look at Africans, you'll see more husband and wives there
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So let me ask you this, since because I know even in America, the Nigerian American community, they perform very well. They're the top performing minority in America. I'm pretty sure that the Nigerians do pretty good in the UK also.
Probably more time.
So now the entitlement that's coming from these African families for people that are together.
When you
Do
say
you
African, you're
notice?
talking African American or black, or you're talking African?
Well, no. I mean African, like in let's say in the UK. Because
Okay.
Nigerian, British
Okay.
are
Right.
those
Okay.
families that still have that kind of close knit. And the children of those women from those families, do you believe that those women have a problem as much as with entitlement as with the ladies that are coming from the single parent homes, or it's just the same?
Interesting. So you're saying if the women you're talking with their husbands, right? If
Are the
there's
women that
a
are coming up with fathers rather?
women that are coming up with fathers,
Yes.
if there's an entitlement, oh, I think I could say, I personally would say I don't think there's a lot of entitlement, I would say, because if I even go just looking at myself, I grew up with my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and I think just having that father figure there that get your little butt in check.
Right.
You learn about entitlement and who the heck you think you are. Saying that, it just reminded me of a time when I moved to the UK. My dad, we were going somewhere, and me, my brother, and my dad were going somewhere, and my dad was like, "Yeah, everyone get dressed." And I thought, okay, I'm gonna take my time, get myself together.
Mm-hmm.
When I got dressed and went downstairs ready to go, guess who was left at home? And everybody else was gone. I had to stay my butt at home.
Okay.
So entitlement, my dad's like, who the heck you think you are? Oh, you want to waste my time? Okay, you keep taking your time. Okay. So that got checked real quick. So now when my dad says get dressed, I'm acting like my dad's here. I just knocked my thing down.
Okay.
So when my dad says,
it helped you a lot. Having a father in your life helped you prepared you to be a wife.
Oh yes, definitely. Because my dad was also married as well, so I saw what being a wife. My stepmom, how she was with my dad as well. That helped me to see what is required of me.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the big dilemma. We want to have you solve the Black community's problems today, because in our community, because I came up in the 90s. I would say that's the last great generation of Big Mama before our Big Mama Medea. If you Google Medea, what it means in African American is mother dear. It's a term for our grandmothers that came from the South that moved through the Great Migration. So we got the chance to see that last element of a grandparents and parents together before parts of the crack epidemic kind of tore away some families. But after that time, and those last matriarchs and patriarchs of our family died, the single parent rate eventually was like 79%, 80%. It's probably even higher now. So what about from young women that have never seen a father, and they don't know anything about having a dad? They've been taught that they are the table. Their best is the best they can do. How much chance do these women, because you have you've been prepared to do what you're doing now. Your family did a good job with you. What about the ladies that their families didn't do that? Unfortunately, they want to get married, but they don't have that model. They haven't seen it coming up. What challenges are they going to have, in your opinion?
Wow. The challenges that they're going to have, in my opinion, is the biggest challenge for most women is looking inwardly. But what is interesting is there are some women that just naturally were, growing up, just wanting to be more in tune with their femininity. Because what's interesting is, even though I had my dad in my life, I didn't have my dad in my life until I was like 13 years old. Like prior to 13, it was just, I lived in Jamaica. Well, I moved to the UK when I was 15. But prior to my dad being in my life, which was from the age of 13, what I can remember as a child, I never had that much of a father figure, like, to see, well, yeah, my granddad was there, but then when he passed away, for the majority of my life growing up, I never really had a father figure. But I'd always known that I wanted to be married. I always knew that I wanted to just do certain things, but I don't know if that was implemented when my granddad was around and I saw how my grandma was with my granddad. So I don't know, maybe that had kind of whatever. But basically the point I'm trying to make is there was a period of time when I never had any male figures, father figures in my life. And I was going down that route of what these modern women are, because it was mainly women that was showing me things. But I am that type of person that I can look in the mirror and be like, okay, that was messed up, Keisha. You need to check yourself. And also how it was brought up. If you did something wrong, you need to go apologize, go own up to it. So it's interesting because women who don't have a father figure in their life, their challenge, like I said, it would be to look inwardly. Because who's gonna, if you never had any type of inclination of, or anyone teaching you how to look inwardly, that's gonna be your challenge. How am I gonna look within myself and call myself out on the bullcrap that I have been dealing with? Because even like people that I have done wrong in the past, like in present day, well, not like present day right now, but present day as in like 2021, I've reached out to people I've done wrong in the past and called them up like, hey, apologize for how I was back then, blase blase. I didn't even say, like, I didn't even try and say, because you did this to me, this is why I did XYZ. I'm just like, what, for whatever I did wrong, I'm owning up to it and I apologize for that. But that's because I just know how to look inwardly. And some people just don't have that in them to look inwardly and say, yo, when I even check back many years ago when I did people wrong, can I really go and call them up and say, hey, I apologize? So I think that's the biggest thing. That's what I would say.
Okay. Let me ask you this, because obviously with the United Kingdom and things going on there, and with the interracial relationships that are high, I heard that sometimes it's like within the 50 to 60%. What do you think that things can be done to get more Black people to be more interested in one another? So I know that's a big problem in the UK. I've heard about it, seen a mini podcast about it. What is it going to take to bring the black man and the Black woman to want to date each other more in the Black Birminghams and the Black Londons and things like that?
That's a very, very, very good question. What can be done? What's interesting is the other day I read a book called, and I'm thinking this could help. I've got a video lined up that I'm trying to have out there. But I read a book called the Willy Lynch letter, and I don't know if you've ever heard about it. But yes. When you read that and then you understand why they kind of did this interbreeding of races and understand why, when you understand why they did it, I think I believe that should be a good reason for people to be within, the Black community to say, hey, forget dating out, let's date within, because we understand the agenda behind interracial dating. Like when you read that book, and I don't know if I can say this, but I think I may, can, if it's okay. If it's not, you can just
Yeah, go
bleep
ahead.
it
Go
all
ahead.
out.
You can. You
They
can.
call the offsprings of, you know, men and the interracial dating, they call them ass backward, unusual ass backward N words.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking, if you're understanding that this is how they look at your offspring and they also look at you as beneath them,
Right.
why now, after all of those years, since we, we like to talk about slavery and oh, how they did us wrong, why now are we just like, oh, yes, let's marry them, let's have their babies, and
Right.
don't
Right.
even understand the psychology and how they really look at you and your
Mm-hmm.
offspring? That
Mm-hmm.
alone should make you say, nah, let me stay with my pedigree and you stay with
Right.
your pedigree over there. Like,
Right.
that's just how I look at it anyway.
Right. Well,
Hopefully
that's
that,
definitely.
and I think that should be good. What did you
Yeah,
say?
that's definitely a good point. We definitely have to have you over on our other channel where I get to that kind of stuff over Kinganda. But I know it's quite late to where you're at, and I do thank you so much for coming on. Tell the people, because I messaged you on Instagram. I actually have forgot, you reminded me we were supposed to do this, and I'm definitely glad that you are coming on. It's good to see a sister from the UK that's giving a different perspective that's going on, that is married and everything like that. Go ahead and tell the people, because I always ask, why should somebody subscribe to the Keisha Ariel YouTube channel? Go ahead and tell them why.
You should definitely come over to my channel to hear from a married woman's perspective, her thoughts, her views on what is going on and how this could, how what I have to say can help you move forward. Because, I really believe that we need to work as a community together and we need to stomp out all the foolishness that's going on. And if we can have more people that share the same mindset, then we will definitely be moving in the right direction. So I'm in support of us coming together, finding our roles, playing our roles correctly, and moving forward. And if you're down with that, you definitely should subscribe and hear what I have to say.
All right, guys, and she's over there cooking, so make sure you go to the first comment pinned to the top. And I'm so glad that she came on. She was very, very busy.
Oh,
and
thank
stuff
you
like that.
so much for having me. I appreciate
hopefully
it.
we could do it again. And check her out. First comment pinned to the top, and subscribe to the bell. Let her know that O'Shea sent you. And as you know, guys, the buffoonery remains at all-time high. I'm out.
It does.